You walk into your kitchen, turn a handle, and out comes water. Clean, cold, safe. You drink it without thinking. You use it to brush your teeth, wash your hands, cook your food, and fill your dog's bowl. You waste more of it in a single shower than most ancient humans drank in a week. But here's the thing. That clean water coming out of your tap is one of the most recent inventions in human history. For almost 300,000 years, humans had no pipes, no filters, no bottles, no way to know if the water they were about to drink would keep them alive or kill them within 48 hours. And yet, somehow, they survived. Every single one of your ancestors, going back thousands of generations, figured out how to find clean water in a world where most of it was contaminated. So how did they actually do it? Let's start with the obvious problem. Water in nature is not clean. That river you see in a nature documentary, the one that looks crystal clear and beautiful, is full of things that can absolutely destroy a human body. Bacteria, parasites, animal waste, dead animals rotting upstream that you can't see, algae blooms that produce toxins, and microscopic organisms that will give you diarrhea so severe you can dehydrate to death in 2 days for a modern human with medicine and hospitals. Drinking dirty water is inconvenient. For an ancient human, it was a death sentence. A stomach bug that would put you on the couch for a weekend today could kill an entire family 40,000 years ago. So the first rule ancient humans lived by was simple. Not all water is equal. And figuring out which water to drink and which to walk away from was a skill passed down from parent to child, generation after generation, for hundreds of thousands of years. The first thing they looked for was movement. Moving water, like a fast-flowing stream, is generally safer than still water. Still water, like a pond or a puddle, sits there for days or weeks, giving bacteria and parasites the perfect environment to multiply. Moving water gets constantly refreshed, and the oxygen in it kills off a lot of harmful microbes. But even moving water wasn't automatically safe, because if there was a dead animal 100 feet upstream that you couldn't see, you were still drinking whatever was leaking out of it. So ancient humans learned to look at the whole picture. They followed streams upward, checked what was around them, looked for signs of animals bathing or dying nearby, and only then decided if the water was worth the risk. The second thing they looked for was the source. Water that comes directly out of the ground, like a spring, is some of the cleanest water you can find in nature. It's been filtered through layers of rock and soil for months or even years before it reaches the surface. Ancient humans figured this out early. Springs became sacred places. Entire tribes would travel long distances just to camp near one. Some archaeological sites show evidence of the same spring being used by humans for over 100,000 years straight. But springs weren't everywhere. So when there wasn't one nearby, ancient humans had to get creative. One of the oldest tricks was digging. If you were near a dry riverbed or a place where a river used to flow, you could often dig down 2 or 3 feet and hit water. That water had been naturally filtered through the sand and dirt above it, which made it far safer than drinking from an open pool. You'd let it settle for a while, and the dirt would sink to the bottom, leaving cleaner water on top. Another trick was collecting rainwater. When it rained, ancient humans would use large leaves, hollowed-out logs, animal skins stretched between sticks, or even natural rock hollows to catch and store water directly from the sky. Rainwater, before it hits the ground, is some of the cleanest water on Earth. The problem was you couldn't rely on it. If it didn't rain, you didn't drink. Then there was the dew trick. In some parts of the world, especially dry regions, ancient humans learned to wake up before sunrise, walk through tall grass with cloths or animal skins tied to their legs, and let the morning dew soak in. Then they'd wring it out into containers. It sounds like it wouldn't work, but a few hours of this could collect enough water to keep a person alive for a full day, and in the driest environments. Some humans figured out how to get water from plants. Certain roots, cactus flesh, and tree barks hold huge amounts of water inside them. If you knew which ones to cut open, you could survive in a desert for weeks without ever seeing an actual water source. This knowledge wasn't guessing. It was passed down over thousands of years, tested by trial and error. And the ones who guessed wrong didn't live to pass on what they learned, but finding water was only half the battle. The other half was making sure it didn't kill you after you drank it. The single biggest breakthrough in human history when it comes to water was fire. Somewhere along the line, ancient humans figured out that if you heated water until it bubbled, it stopped making people sick. They didn't know about bacteria. They didn't understand germs, but they noticed a pattern. The people who drank water that had been near fire got sick less often, and over generations, that pattern turned into a rule. Boil the water. The problem was, boiling water in the ancient world was harder than it sounds. You didn't have a metal pot. You didn't have a stove. So what ancient humans did was heat rocks in a fire until they were glowing hot, and then drop them into a container of water. The container might be a hollowed-out log, a tightly woven basket sealed with animal fat, or a pouch made from a stomach lining. The hot rocks would transfer their heat into the water, and within minutes, the water would boil. This method was used all over the world by completely separate groups of humans, which tells you how effective it was. Another method was filtration. Ancient humans built simple filters using layers of sand, charcoal, and grass stacked inside a container. Water poured through the top came out the bottom noticeably cleaner. Charcoal in particular was a genius discovery. It naturally absorbs toxins and bad tastes. Modern water filters still use activated charcoal today for the exact same reason. Some groups learned to ferment their water into weak alcoholic drinks, because the fermentation process killed off most harmful bacteria. This is one of the theories for why beer and other fermented drinks became so common in early human societies. It wasn't just for fun. It was safer than the water. And then there was location. Ancient humans didn't just wander randomly across the landscape. Where they chose to live was almost entirely decided by water. Every major early human settlement, every cave that shows long-term use, every ancient village archaeologists have ever dug up, was located near a reliable water source. Rivers, lakes, springs, coastlines. If there wasn't water, humans didn't stay. It's that simple, which means when you look at a map of where ancient humans lived, you're really looking at a map of where the water was. The scary part is how much of this knowledge we've lost. If you dropped a modern person into the middle of a forest with no supplies, most of us wouldn't survive a week. Not because there's no water around, but because we'd have no idea which water is safe and which one will kill us. The skills that kept our ancestors alive for 300,000 years are gone from most of our brains. Within one generation of turning on a tap, every sip of clean water you take today is the result of hundreds of thousands of years of humans figuring this out the hard way, watching family members die from bad water, testing new sources, digging in dry riverbeds, boiling with hot rocks, passing the knowledge down. You didn't invent that tap. You inherited it. And the ancient humans who made your life possible spent every single day of their lives doing something you'll never have to think about again, turning a handle.